The Wail of Death. Over 4 decades later, I can still recall those wailing cries. I was about 5 or 6 years old sleeping, and suddenly I woke up to a thunderous wail. My mom was crying and screaming at the top of her lungs. She was calling out to her brother. I didn't understand what was happening, but I could hear my dad telling her to sabar kar, to be patient, hansla rakh, to stay in high spirits, and bahana mun, to accept God's will. I was a teenager when I eventually asked my mom what happened that fateful night at our old house. Only then was I able to construct some reason for this lingering horrific image I held in my consciousness. I'm sure my dad had told us when I was young. I couldn't remember, or more accurately, make sense of it, since I hadn't known my uncle. I was only 3 when my family immigrated to Toronto from Punjab. I remember Mom had returned to India to grieve her loss, as I was feeling lost without her here. For many years afterward, whenever Mom told us stories of her brother, she would tear up remembering him. She would tell us how he treated her like a princess, how he carried her on his shoulders and bought her whatever she wanted, as he was significantly older than she was, that he would always be there for her, even after she got married and moved into her in-laws' village, how he'd bring gifts for her there. I couldn't understand how profound the emotions my mom felt about her brother's loss were until my mom died 5 years ago. For many, many years, every morning I'd go to Mom's house, which was a short 7-minute drive from mine. I'd put on the tea, prepare breakfast, and then afterward give my parents their meds and do some meal prep, housework, and cleaning. For years, Mom, Dad, and I would share some tea and breakfast, and for a few minutes start our day with some quality time with each other. Afterward, Dad would go upstairs to his room and continue the meditations that he had begun around 3 a.m. Mom would sit on the couch in the family room, which also had a bed for her to rest in. She'd pray with her mala, her rosary made of 108 beads or knots. She'd either recite the Mul mantra or meditate on God's name, Waheguru. I'd get back to my duties and complete the housework. Some days I'd massage her. On other days, when she was in a talking mood, I'd listen to stories of her life's joys and sorrows. I'd trim her nails, go and get her some groceries, take her to medical appointments, and so on. It was my way of honoring her as a son. I'm grateful I had the flexibility to do this in my life and work. Mom was a proud woman and rarely doled out compliments, especially directly to you. She'd compliment someone else to you, but never you. I recall once, on one of her hospital visits after an overnight stay, she murmured in a half-drowsy state to me, "My good son." That was probably the best compliment I got from her in my adult life. Hence, even in my golden years, when everything seems to just blend, I still remember it. It was at that moment I felt acknowledged that I had faithfully fulfilled my duties as a son and honored her. Mom, first it was your brother, then it was your father, and now the call of death has come for you on the plains of Punjab in the year 2017. No longer were you just 7 minutes away from me. Now, you were a 14-hour flight from Toronto to Delhi, and then another 8-hour bus ride. I came once more to fulfill my duties as a son. And this time, I felt physically strong, but I was emotionally numb. I was physically strong as I had been diligently working out at the gym for the past several months with renewed vigor that I couldn't understand, as you were in India for your winter stay. I did not know that God had plans for me. He knew that you wouldn't be coming back, and that I'd be needing to carry your body on my shoulder to the cremation grounds. I was numb, for it was all a shock. And I was serving you, Mom, for the very last time. I felt deeply alone in the back of the van, bringing your frozen body back home to our village. You were wrapped up head to toe in a white cloth. At our house, the ladies washed your body, adorned you with a new Punjabi suit, and then we carried you to your final wooden bed. More wood was added on top of your throne. I poured ghee on your castle, and then lit a match and watched your fireworks. Mom, your body that was from dust created, overnight to dust returned. However, the irony that struck me most, Mom, was that the hands you had created 46 years earlier, with your flesh and blood, were now sorting through your warm ashes to collect your unburnt bones. It felt like you had cremated yourself. Your hands collected your bones and placed them in the cool holy waters at Kiratpur. And then the winds of Punjab, Mother Earth, spread your ashes and fragranced the fields you once ran on and played in. Oh, Mom, from whence your body came, it has returned. I'm grateful that you aren't paining anymore. It has been 5 long years since my heart went quiet. Even with all my spiritual knowledge, as I'm writing your story, Mom, my eyes tear up. Mom, I can finally understand your tears of loss when you talked of your brother so lovingly. I wish I was more sympathetic. Now I can feel some of your loss in my own heart's numbness. Why begin this book, my journey, with a story of death? What about some poetry, an inspirational story, or gratitude? All those are coming. But we must center ourselves that death is the primal truth for all who've lived and are living. If we are fearing death, then we aren't living. I've learned that we can't fear this truth. As parents, we should try to be mindful that our actions leave a lasting impression on our children. Today I asked my brother if he remembered Mom's wails when we were young. He said yes. So this event was traumatic for all my siblings. We just didn't talk about it. That wasn't the Indian thing to do. More importantly, we all must reflect and realize that death is a natural occurrence of life. In every seed, life and death are interwoven like a DNA strand. It's like the opposite sides of the same coin. Every day the sun rises and sets. It is just the way of life. Today, 8 billion people live on Earth. Yet how many billions have already passed away since the very beginning? Don't fear the inevitable. Every time I hear of a friend's loss, it reminds me of how precious this moment is. We shouldn't let fear and loss overwhelm us. We are all transient waves in the eternal ocean of time, or like a storm cloud that passes by in the skies. It forms, rains, then disappears without a trace. So enjoy the ride of life. Live, breathe, create. See the beauty and be grateful, but remain detached, as we are just traveling through as we do on a vacation. Enjoy it, but know it's not your final destination. You're a soul born to experience and know your greatness. When I hear people say that time is money, a statement that reflects the material values of the corporate world, I want them to think they're trading their life for money. We need not burden ourselves by always living in the rat race, wanting the next material fix. If we can gather this perspective, then we'll realize that having money allows us to enjoy our time, our life, but won't stop the wail of death. Then we'll better use the time we have here. I believe there is a yearning deeply embedded in our species, men and women, to explore, grow, learn, seek, and have spiritual treasures that money can't buy. We can all have peace of mind, detached love, the precious awareness of the spirit, intuitive wisdom, and experiences of life that deeply resonate in our hearts. Reflect and write down the moments in your life that have affected your journey as a wave. Share it. In this process of introspection, I am certain that you will gather golden nuggets of wisdom that will bring peace to your mind, love in your heart, and gratitude for the gift of life. I know losing a loved one isn't something you easily overcome, but writing down your thoughts and clarifying your thinking will help crystallize your emotions, empower your mind, and bring peace and closure over time. In my mom's honor, I wrote this poem. Mom, you did not speak this time, nor did you walk pained. You did not shed a tear or in anger to me complain. Rest you did in silence, peace, as your flesh cracked, popped, and baked. First time I smelled death, Ma, as I watched you evaporate. Hmm.